Hello, I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today, I want to talk about the fact that waiting costs you money. So here's the scenario. You are busy, hustling to make money. Money feels a little tight, and time feels even tighter. You feel overwhelmed by the idea of money stuff, taxes, retirement. And so you do the easiest thing, which is just to put off thinking about it, put it off for one more year. Okay, this is super common. But what does that do when you do that? There's sort of a pit in your stomach that's growing when you know that you are putting off your saving for retirement and learning how to invest for yet another year. You have anxiety that kind of grows. There's sort of a pit in your stomach. You feel anxiety and fear about maybe an audit possibly coming, a tax scramble every year that never seems to get better, or just like a pit in your stomach about whether you're ever going to be able to not work when you get older. So today I want to teach you something counterintuitive that is really not that hard. What it costs you to wait 1 year to start your investments. And even more exciting, there's a corollary to this, which is how much additional money you get in your savings. And let's just call it what it is, your fuck you money, when you start early. So the biggest mistake I see is people saying, oh, I'm going to put it off next year. I'll do it next year. Or when I have time, or when I have money, or when I have headspace, right? Or when I have some perfect situation, perfect money, perfect time, perfect bandwidth, which frankly just doesn't exist, because the fact is life isn't perfect. You will never have enough time. You will never have enough money. Nothing will ever be perfect, right? So side note, I made a whole episode about this. It's called Perfectionism. How perfectionism will kill you. That is episode 9, if you want to go back and listen to that. I highly recommend if you kind of see yourself in this scenario, but it's very common. So perfectionism is, in fact, one of the biggest things I see that holds people back from making great strides with getting organized around taxes and getting savings and investments started and implementing good systems with your money. So there is no perfect time. You'll always have less money than you want. And here's a really funny thing. I heard this statistic from Rachel Rogers, who is a really fantastic business coach. She quoted a study that said that even people with $1 million think that they would feel happy with the amount of money they had if they had 2 million, and that people who have $10 million think they would feel happier if they had 20 million. Right? So I'm here to say there is no magic point where you're going to feel okay about this. You literally will always feel like you don't have enough. So another sidebar, if you really want to work on that, I think you actually have to get into the deeper issues of connection, fulfillment, life satisfaction. And yeah, that's not really money related past the point of having enough. So I think really what we're talking about there is having a sense of enoughness, right? Okay, so let's just take it for granted. You'll never have enough time. You'll never have enough money unless your mindset is really incredible. So the only thing you're going to focus on are things that happen to be priorities. So how can you make this a priority for yourself so you actually do it, right? Your long-term financial health is very important. Having fuck you money is important. It allows you to rest. It gives you security. It gives you the ability to walk away from a bad situation, whether it is an abusive partner, whether it is a bad employer, or starting your own business, or just resting because you feel burned out. And it also allows you to dig into the work that you really want to be doing. So there's a proverb I heard that is, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. So let's talk about the second best time. There's a real reason why in my program, I always am talking about improvement and not perfection. So just the idea of like letting go of perfection, because it's simply mythical. It does not exist. But the thing that does exist and can help you is the idea of taking very imperfect action, and each time you repeat it, trying to improve. If you do that, you will get better and better and better. And I think what you have to really come to accept is anytime you do something for the first time, it's going to suck a little bit. It's going to be hard, right? You're not going to do it perfectly, but you will learn from your mistakes. The key is really to not be too embarrassed, held back, or scared of kind of doing things not that well at first, right? Brene Brown has a great phrase for this. She calls them FFTs, fucking first times. So, all right. So what I want to talk about is a cost curve. So what is a cost curve? Basically, I have a chart that I love to pull out and show people, which shows a graph of the amount of money that you put in. And I base it on the amount that is the current limit for what you can put into an IRA for the year. That limit is $6,000 at the moment. Next year, it's going up just a little bit. So you can put $6,000 into an individual retirement arrangement, an IRA, per year at the moment. Like I said, that goes up a little bit. So if you look at a chart of $6,000 maxed out into an IRA over time, over a 40-year time horizon, I'm picking 40 years because that's a nice long time horizon. I understand you might be listening to this and you might be in your 50s and you might be thinking, I don't have 40 years. And you know what you have is what you have. I wish I could wind the clock back for you, but it's beyond my capability. So I just hope that you start now. Again, this doesn't change anything. Starting now is still the best option. So 40 years, cost curve, 6,000 per year is going to create kind of a straight line that just goes up by 6,000 every single year, right? So when you actually look at that, what that looks like, you're going to see it goes up to about $200,000 over the course of 40 years. Okay. Now, interestingly, when that money is invested, now here we're talking about taking your money that you max out in an IRA and actually investing it in, something really basic like index funds in the stock market, which are low cost. When you look at a chart of investments at what economists generally agree is a baseline acceptable rate, historic rate of return. Now, a historic rate does not mean we can make promises about the future, right? Could something wild happen and unpredictable? Yeah, of course. And that is the risk of investing. But when you look back at charts over time of various stock indices, you will see, and it's pretty reassuring to see, yes, there are ups and downs, and some years have pretty dramatic ups and downs, but over the long term, right? Money that is invested in the stock market, in a stock index, generally goes up, right? And it generally goes up at a pretty reliable 8% rate per year. Now that's on average. That absolutely does not mean you put money in the stock market today, it will go up 8% by next year. In fact, at the moment, the markets are doing very badly, and it's very perfectly likely it will actually go down before it starts going up. And this is why we always say when you're investing, you need a long time horizon. Investing is not short term, right? When we say get rich quick, that is a scam. But I can teach you how to get rich slowly, and I'm happy to. So 8% per return is a pretty acceptable rate, and that's what I'm going to use for that reason, because it's kind of agreed upon. Also important to understand compound interest. Compound interest actually makes the money that you earn inside that account that is invested, it actually makes the money itself earn money, right? So you're earning 8% a year and it's compounded annually. That's the assumption built into my chart. So the interesting thing is that actual investment you're making, the 6,000 per year, that goes up in a straight line, whereas the amount of money when you add in the 8% the 8% return compounded annually, that line starts to separate away from the straight line and starts to curve up and go dramatically upward towards the end of the time horizon, right? At the beginning, so in those early years, those two lines are pretty close together. In other words, when you have small amounts of money, it doesn't look like the growth is that big. So I'm going to talk a lot about numbers, and I'm going to invite you to my live class next week where I'm going to actually show this chart and you will get to see the visual that I keep referring to. But the basics you can get with me just telling you. Okay, so what's really, what I want you to know is that a lot of people, the really sexy thing about investing is the long term, right? In the long term, your money starts making money, and then that starts compounding and compounding and compounding. In fact, a little rule of thumb, just for your edification, if you have investments of any amount, and they're compounding annually at 8% per year, then your money, whatever money that is, that was put in year 1 will double on year 9. So if you think about what that is over time, year 9, it doubles, year 18, it doubles again, and etc. Right? And so you get your money doubling, and you get, if you remember from geometry class, you get a geometric curve, the kind of curve that goes and starts shooting upwards towards the end. That is why you can actually get about $1.6 million over a 40-year time horizon when you invest $6,000 per year. Now, I was telling you that it's $6,000 per year is only a little bit over $200,000 total dollars invested. And yet, because of compound interest over time, in 40 years, it's greater than $1.6 million. In other words, that is the power of investing, right? That is the power of compound interest. So super exciting, super cool. The thing that I see people make a mistake with is they wait to get started. And part of the reason they wait to get started is they think what they're missing out on is the growth of those really boring early years where your money's not making that much money. So in year 1 at 8% compound interest annually. And I just want to remind you that this chart that I'm showing you is averaged out as though every year is the same. The real stock market is more jumpy. It goes up and it goes down. You might have years where it gets 12%, and you might get years where it loses 3%, right? So, but over time, you will probably average roughly to about 8%. That's not a promise. It's just historically true. So, what I think a lot of people get wrong is they think about waiting as skipping out on that year 1. Now, in year 1, your $6,000 grows by $480. $480 is just 8% of $6,000. That's how much money your money earns. So when I talk about your money making money, this is what I'm talking about. So your money, when it's invested, makes about $480 in year 1 if you have a maxed out IRA, $6,000. Now, that's not the year you get to skip when you wait a year. The fact is, no matter when you get started, year 1 is the year you have to ride out, right? The years you miss when you wait to start is the last year. And the last year is the year where your money goes bananas. It earns incredibly large amounts of money. So if you're investing $6,000 per year over a 40-year time horizon, do you know how much money your money makes, like without you performing any work? How much money your money makes between year 39 and year 40? It's $130,000. For most of you, that's a decent salary. You could probably live on that. Some of you can live on that very nicely, depending where you live. So that's the whole point. What I'm showing you here is after 40 years, if you've just consistently funded an IRA for $6,000 per year, the max, and that goes up a little bit, so it's actually a little more. If you've done that for your whole working life, about 40 years, you can retire. Your money is making enough money to replace your salary by the end. And that's the whole ball of wax. That's the whole entire point. And that's why you get these tax sheltered accounts called IRAs, where you get to put the money in and it has accelerated growth because it doesn't have tax on it in the years it's in those accounts. Just has it's a little bit tax sheltered. So that's what's really cool. But don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, I'll put it off a year, because what you miss out on when you put it off a year is not that teeny tiny little $400. What you miss out on is that full year's salary at the other end, that $130,000, right? So the earlier you start, the more years of $130,000 growth you get at the end of your time horizon. All right. That's all I wanted to tell you today. I think that is really, really sexy and really cool. I want you to just know that the math really works. As long as you're investing, as long as you're using tax sheltered accounts, you can retire on not that much money. $6,000 per year is $115 a week. That's not nothing, but it is doable. Okay, it's not impossible. So my takeaway for you today is that retirement truly is possible, even on a modest income, but you have to be smart about it. You have to use tax advantage accounts. You have to use what I call the power triangle. My last episode was about that, so go back and listen to that. You have to use the power triangle. You have to start now, okay? So I want you to just accept that starting is always going to feel weird. It's always going to have some bumps to it. It will always be imperfect. But guess what? You get to try this every year. And if every single year you improve, you will automatically get better, okay? Imperfect action will beat fear and procrastination every time. All right, so I hope I gave you just a taste of how excited I am about investing and tax shelters. And if I got you interested, and I hope I did, then if I got you interested in how you can take imperfect action yourself and get your own fuck you money started and growing, I will be talking more about this and showing you the graph that this talk is based on in my live class on November 16th. So you can attend this class. You're going to learn all about this cost curve, about how to get that $130,000 extra. The class is free. You can sign up at go.sunlighttax.com/free. If you're listening to this episode after November 16th, I will redirect that link so that it will go to the replay, so you can get it that way too. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. I hope you're as excited as I am, and I will see you in the live class on November 16th. Take care. Bye-bye.